Beloved, the Word tells us that there will be a day unlike any other, a day when the trumpet will sound, and in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, everything will change. Yet the greatest tragedy will not be that the world is caught unprepared. It will be that many who call themselves believers will not be ready. For the Scriptures warn us that not all who say, Lord, Lord, will enter in, but only those who do the will of the Father. The question is not simply whether you believe in Him with your lips, but whether you walk with Him in your life. The rapture is not a reward for half-hearted faith or lukewarm devotion. It is the gathering of those who have set their hearts, their minds, and their lives apart for the bridegroom. And so I ask you, if the trumpet were to sound tonight, would you be among the taken or among the left behind? Many profess faith with their lips, but their hearts remain far from God. This is the very warning given throughout the Scriptures, that there would come a people who honor the Lord in their words, who recite the prayers, who attend the gatherings, who carry the name of believer upon themselves, yet in the secret chambers of their hearts they are far removed from Him. It is the tragedy of form without substance, religion without relationship, ritual without reality. To call upon His name while living as though He is absent is to deceive oneself. The prophets of old cried out against this very thing. They saw a nation that spoke of the Lord, that brought sacrifices, that sang the Psalms of David, yet whose hands were stained with compromise, whose eyes pursued idols, whose hearts were bound to the world. The words of Isaiah thunder through the ages. This people draw near me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. It is possible to speak the language of faith while living the life of unbelief. The danger lies not in the obvious sinner who knows he is far from God, but in the one who thinks he stands while his feet are slipping. Many will say on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not perform miracles? Did we not do mighty works? And yet the answer will come, I never knew you. These are not atheists, not mockers, not those who rejected the existence of God. These are those who called Him Lord, yet lived a double life, whose mouths proclaimed faith, but whose choices betrayed it. To confess Him with the tongue, but deny Him with the life, is to live a contradiction that heaven does not recognize. Faith that is only spoken and not lived is not faith at all. The enemy of souls is not troubled by a believer who knows how to speak the right words if those words never touch the heart. The adversary knows the power is not in saying the name of Jesus, but in surrendering to the lordship of Jesus. Satan himself can speak the words of Scripture. He did so in the wilderness when he tempted the Son of God. But he cannot submit to it. He cannot bow his will to it. And so there are many who imitate the sound of devotion without ever yielding their hearts. The Lord does not seek words alone. He seeks a bride. He seeks love, faithfulness, surrender, and obedience. He desires the heart that beats for Him in secret, the hands that are lifted not for applause of man, but for the pleasure of God. How easy it is to fall into the trap of religious performance, to substitute activity for intimacy, to believe that outward association is the same as inward transformation. But the rapture will not gather the crowd of performers. It will gather the remnant whose lives bear the mark of authentic devotion. The ones who were not content to say the right thing, but strove to live the true thing. The ones who allowed their hearts to be purified, their motives tested, their secret lives brought into the light. The lips can say, Lord, but the heart proves who is truly Lord's. Many will discover too late that they gave Him their attendance, but not their allegiance, their words, but not their ways, their Sunday, but not their soul. It is not enough to speak the name of Christ while treasuring the idols of Egypt in the heart. The call has always been the same. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. Anything less is a divided love, and a divided love is no love at all. The rapture is not for the lukewarm, but for the faithful who endure. The word declares that in the last days there will be many who have a form of godliness but deny its power, many who begin the race with zeal yet fail to finish, many who compromise when the cost of obedience becomes too high. The call of the bridegroom is not for those who waver between two opinions, who walk 1 foot in the kingdom and 1 foot in the world, but for those who press on with steadfast devotion. The Lord has never sought half-hearted offerings. He rejects the divided heart, for he is a jealous God. To be lukewarm is to stand in the most dangerous place of all, deceived by comfort, dulled by complacency, too religious to see the darkness, yet too worldly to embrace the light. And the warning is clear: the lukewarm he will spew out of his mouth. The faithful are those who do not bow to the shifting winds of culture, who do not silence their witness to avoid the offense of the cross, who do not compromise their integrity for the sake of gain. They are the ones who take up their cross daily, who count the cost and still choose the narrow path. They understand that endurance is not a moment, but a life. Faith is not measured by how passionately one begins, but by how faithfully one perseveres through trial, temptation, and testing. The Lord himself said, "He who endures to the end shall be saved." The crown is not for the starter, but for the finisher. Not for the one who speaks the loudest, but for the one who remains faithful when the fire is hottest. In the parable of the 10 virgins, all had lamps, all were waiting for the bridegroom, all looked the same in outward appearance. But when the midnight cry came, only 5 were ready, for only 5 had oil. The others had allowed their lamps to burn low, their flame to wither, their preparation to falter. They represent the lukewarm, those who believe they are safe because they hold a lamp, because they once burned with fire, but who failed to maintain the oil of intimacy, prayer, and holiness. The faithful are the wise who guard their flame, who keep their oil filled, who live as though the bridegroom may arrive at any moment. The lukewarm assume they have time, but the faithful live as if the time is now. The test of endurance is not in moments of ease, but in seasons of pressure. It is when the world mocks, when persecution arises, when the desires of the flesh pull with force, when the cares of life choke the seed. Then it is revealed who is lukewarm and who is faithful. The lukewarm fall away when the storm comes. The faithful dig deeper into the rock. The lukewarm yield to compromise when the fire is turned up. The faithful shine brighter in the midst of the flames. Just as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to bow before the image, so the faithful refuse to bow before the idols of the age. They endure because their love is true, their devotion real, their eyes fixed on the bridegrooms. Heaven is not gathering those who lived half for God and half for themselves. The rapture is the wedding of the Lamb, and only the bride who has made herself ready will hear the cry and be taken in. The faithful endure because their hearts are set, their course unshakable, their loyalty undivided. They know that to follow Christ is not a time calling, but a consuming surrender. The lukewarm settle for appearance, but the faithful long for reality. The lukewarm dip in and out of devotion, but the faithful persevere day by day, moment by moment, until the final trumpet sounds and the bridegroom comes for those who belong wholly to him. Distractions of the world blind believers from living in holiness. The enemy does not always come with a roar. Often he comes with a whisper, with the glitter of distractions, with the constant pull of lesser things that steal the heart away from what truly matters. It is not always sin in its most blatant form that robs a believer of devotion, but the subtle drift of misplaced focus. The cares of this life, the deceitfulness of riches, the desire for other things, these grow like thorns around the word, choking its life until it becomes unfruitful. The heart becomes divided, And though the lips may still speak the language of faith, the soul is entangled in the world's noise. How many have been set aflame with passion for God only to have their flame dimmed by the endless distractions that demand their attentions? The adversary does not need to turn a believer into a rebel. He only needs to keep them busy enough to forget their first love. Holiness requires a gaze that is fixed, a heart that is undistracted, a life that is guarded. Yet the world offers its endless stream of entertainments, its relentless pursuit of wealth, its intoxication with comfort and pleasure. Each promise is empty, each lure is a chain disguised as freedoms. When the mind is consumed with endless scrolling, endless pursuits, endless cravings, the spirit is silenced. The still small voice of God is drowned out by the constant noise of the age. And so the believer finds themselves drifting, not by outright rebellion, but by neglect, not by hatred of God, but by forgetfulness of Him. The distraction of the world is more dangerous than persecutions, because persecution can awaken, but distraction lulls to sleep. The word warns of those who began well, but were entangled by the affairs of this life. The runner who looks to the side will stumble. The soldier who entangles himself with civilian matters will lose his focus. The disciple who tries to serve both God and mammon will end up serving mammon. And yet how subtle it is. A little compromise here, a little indulgence there, a little postponing of prayer, a little neglect of the word, and soon the heart is dulled, the conscience numbed, the fire diminished. Holiness cannot survive in a divided heart. To live holy is to live set apart, to live as though heaven is near and eternity is real. But distraction convinces the believer to live as though time is endless, as though there will always be another opportunity, another day to consecrate, another chance to turn. The distractions of the world are designed to keep the church unprepared. When the bridegroom comes, it will be sudden, without warning, like a thief in the night. Only those who are watchful will be ready. Yet the distracted are not watchful. Their eyes are on careers, on possessions, on pleasures, on their own reflections. They are not bad people, they are busy people. But in their business, they miss the eternals. The call of holiness demands that we strip away every weight that hinders and every sin that entangles. It demands a focus so sharp that the things of earth grow dim in the light of His glory. Distraction blinds because it fills the eyes with the temporary until there is no room left for the eternal. The faithful remnant are those who refuse to be swallowed by the noise. They shut the door of distraction to open the door of prayer. They guard their time, they guard their hearts, they guard their gaze. They understand that holiness cannot be cultivated in a heart crowded with idols. They know the cost of distraction is far greater than the momentary pleasure it promises. They choose to be watchful, sober, set apart, knowing that the world and its desires are passing away. But the one who does the will of God abides forever. Not everyone in the church will be counted among the bride. The scriptures speak with sobering clarity that many will sit in the pews, many will sing the songs, many will hear the word preached. And yet when the trumpet sounds, they will not be among those taken. The gathering of the bride is not a matter of outward affiliation, but of inward transformation. To belong to a congregation does not mean one belongs to Christ. To walk inside the building does not mean one has entered into the kingdoms. The bride is not defined by attendance, but by covenant, not by ritual, but by relationship, not by proximity to holy things, but by possession of a holy heart. It is possible to sit in the midst of the people of God and yet not be one of them. It is possible to carry the name of Christian and yet never bear the likeness of Christ. The words of Jesus pierce like a sword. Many are called, but few are chosen. He told of a wedding feast where many were invited, where guests entered in, but one was found without the wedding garment and was cast out. The garment is the righteousness of Christ. the covering of his blood, the robe of holiness that marks those who are truly his. The tragedy is that the man thought his presence at the feast was enough, that showing up was sufficient, but the king demanded more. So it will be in the last days. Many will assume that being near the things of God secures them, but the bride is not marked by nearness. She is marked by union. She is the one who has been set apart, purified, made ready. The bride is not the multitude, but the remnant. Throughout history, the Lord has always distinguished between the crowd and the chosen. Israel had 12 tribes, yet only a faithful remnant walked in obedience. Gideon's army began with thousands, yet only 300 were counted worthy to fight. 10 lepers were healed, but only one returned to give thanks. The pattern reveals a truth that the church must heed. Not all who are present are prepared. Not all who profess are possessed by his Spirit. The bride is smaller than the multitude imagines. She is refined through fire. She is tested through trial. She is separated from the world. Her love is not casual. Her devotion is not seasonal. Her allegiance is not divided. The church of Laodicea thought itself rich, clothed, and in need of nothing, but the Lord saw it as poor, naked, and blind. They had the outward shell of religion, but lacked the inward flame of intimacy. They were a congregation, but not a bride. The danger of the last days is this very deception that multitudes will equate church membership with salvation, association with transformation, religious activity with eternal security. But the bridegroom is not coming for a crowd of casual believers. He is coming for a people who have made themselves ready, whose garments are washed, whose lamps are burning, whose hearts are undivided. The dividing line is sharper than many realize. The bride is the one who responds to the voice of the bridegroom, who follows him wherever he leads, who refuses to bow to the idols of compromise. She does not blend with the world, but stands apart from it. She does not only profess Christ, but lives Christ, breathes Christ, embodies Christ. To be counted among the bride is to be surrendered fully, to be given wholly, to be bound by covenant love that cannot be broken. The church building may be filled with many, but only those who are set apart in spirit and truth will hear the midnight cry and enter into the wedding feast of the Lamb. True readiness is measured by obedience, not empty confession. The scriptures do not say, "Well said, good and faithful servant," but rather, "Well done." Heaven is not moved by the eloquence of our words, but by the faithfulness of our walk. The Lord is not deceived by the sound of our lips when our lives bear no fruit of surrender. He searches deeper past the outward profession, past the repetition of prayers, into the hidden chambers of the heart where true loyalty is proven. Confession without obedience is like a tree that boasts of blossoms but bears no fruit, like a lamp that shines for a moment but has no oil to sustain it. The words, "Lord, Lord," mean nothing if they are not backed by a life bowed to his will. Obedience is the true evidence of faith. Abraham did not only confess belief in God, he left his homeland. He climbed the mountain with his son. He obeyed when it cost him everything. Noah did not merely say he trusted in the Lord. He built the ark day after day in the face of ridicule. The apostles did not just speak their allegiance. They laid down their lives in blood and sacrifice. Their readiness was revealed not by what they declared, but by what they did. To believe is to obey. To confess Christ while living in rebellion to his commands is to live in self-deception. The demons themselves believe and tremble, but they do not obey. True readiness is not measured by how much we say we love him, but by how much we align our steps with his will. The parable of the two sons lays bare the heart of this truth. One said, "I will not go." The other said, "I will go," but never did. The question was not who spoke the right words, but who carried out the Father's will. The one who obeyed entered into blessings. The one who gave empty words revealed his heart. So it is with many who fill the churches, who declare Christ with passion on their lips, but whose lives reveal compromise, disobedience, and worldliness. They believe their confession is enough, but when the bridegroom comes, he will look for the evidence of love that is proven in obedience. Jesus himself said, "If you love me, keep my commandments." Love without obedience is not love but sentiment. Confession without obedience is not faith but pretense. To be ready is not to have once repeated a prayer. To be ready is to live a life surrendered to his authority day after day. The wise builder did not only hear the words of Christ, but acted on them, and his house stood firm. The foolish builder heard the same words, but did nothing, and his house fell with great ruin. Both heard, both could speak, but only one obeyed, and only one endured. In the last days, the dividing line will not be between those who claimed Christ and those who denied him, but between those who obeyed him and those who did not. Many will stand shocked, insisting on the power of their words, reminding him of all they spoke and declared, but the bridegroom seeks more than talks. He seeks faith expressed in action, devotion expressed in sacrifice, loyalty proven in obedience. True readiness cannot be faked. It is revealed in the secret life, in the choices unseen, in the sacrifices made when no one is watching. Heaven is not measuring the sound of our lips, but the posture of our hearts and the steps of our feet. The trumpet will separate the watchful from the careless. Scripture tells us that in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, the last trumpet will sound, and the dead in Christ will rise first, and those who are alive and remain will be caught up with them in the clouds. But not all who call themselves believers will be among that number. For the trumpet is not only a sound of gathering, but also a sound of dividing. It will be the great separator, the line drawn between those who lived in expectation of their Lord and those who slumbered in complacency. The watchful live as though the bridegroom may arrive at any hour, their lamps burning, their hearts awake, their garments clean. The careless presume upon tomorrow, distracted by the world, lulled into sleep, unprepared for the suddenness of his appearing. The word warns us again and again to watch, to be sober, to be vigilant, for we do not know the day or the hour. The Son of Man will come at an hour when we do not expect him, like a thief in the night. The faithful servant remains awake, carrying out the will of the master, even in his seeming delay. The careless servant says in his heart, "My Lord delays his coming," and begins to live for himself, to indulge, to compromise, to neglect. But the master will return on a day when he is not ready, and the careless will be caught unawares. The trumpet is not merely a call, it is a test. It reveals who truly believed his words, who truly longed for his appearing, who truly lived in readiness. The watchful understand that life is not their own. That time is short, that eternity is near. They guard their hearts. They resist the snares of the enemy. They trim their lamps. They fill their vessels with oil. Their hope is not in this world, but in the kingdom to come. They measure their choices not by the fleeting pleasures of the present, but by the eternal weight of glory. The careless live as though this world were their home, as though there will always be more time, as though the trumpet is a distant myth rather than an imminent reality. They allow their oil to run out, their fire to grow dim, their love to grow cold. And when the cry comes at midnight, they will scramble too late to prepare. The dividing line is sharp, and it will not be blurred by outward appearances. The trumpet will not gather those who once said a prayer, but those whose lives bore the mark of readiness. It will not sweep up the distracted, but the devoted. Just as Noah entered the ark while the world carried on with eating, drinking, marrying, and building, so will the watchful be taken while the careless are left behind. The trumpet will not wait for excuses, for explanations, for last-minute decisions. In the instant that it sounds, destinies will be sealed. The call to watchfulness is not a suggestion, but a command. To be watchful is to live each day as though it were the last, to walk in holiness, to stay in prayer, to keep one's eyes on the heavens. To be careless is to gamble with eternity, to live as though the bridegroom's delay is endless, to assume that grace will always allow for another chance. The trumpet will prove otherwise. It will separate those who lived ready from those who did not, those who yearned for his appearing from those who were content with the world, those who kept their eyes on the bridegroom from those who lost themselves in the distractions of life. The watchful will rise with joy, but the careless will be left in sorrow, for the trumpet will not be ignored, and the moment cannot be reversed. If this message has spoken to your spirit, I invite you to subscribe for more powerful teachings. Share this word with others who need to hear it, like this video to spread the message further, and comment below with your thoughts and prayers so we can stand together in faith and readiness for his coming.